CNN's ratings are just so miserably low.
Yep.
I'm surprised anyone even bothers working there. Like, I'm going to stress this. You know, doing this job, sitting here, what makes it work is that I like talking about these things, and I know someone's listening. That's true. When I started doing this, I was getting a couple thousand views, right? When I started doing on-the-ground reporting, I was getting maybe like 1,000, 2,000 views. Knowing that people are there, valuing your work and saying, we thank you for being out here and showing us this, makes it worth it. If I was just recording to no one and not posting anywhere and doing nothing, I'd probably stop doing it at some point.
Yeah.
If you're CNN and your viewership has gone to that degree, or you're MSNBC and you're looking into a camera and you're saying, I feel this way about things, and you know no one's listening.
It's a captive audience, too. Like the Nielsen ratings are all BS. I used to work at MSNBC, and I used to man the phone bank, and like half of the calls that I took in would be like, my TV isn't working. Oh, man. And I was like a tech guy. I was like, ma'am, have you tried plugging it in? Check the cable. Okay, the HDMI cable. You have to go to HD. You're on the wrong source. You got to go to HDMI 2.
Wow. I can't imagine what Rachel Maddow must be feeling, knowing that no one cares what she thinks anymore.
She blames the lack of audience and not herself.
Well, Joy Reid is that's Rachel Maddow times 3,000.
Like, who is she talking to? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not saying you need to have a massive audience of hundreds of thousands. Like I said, I was getting started doing all this podcasting. It started off with a YouTube video with like 1,000 or 2,000 views, and I was like, wow, look at that. And there were comments, and people were saying, hey, Tim, here's this, and talking to people, engaging with them. And I was like, right, I've got things I want to say and I want to talk about, and I want to go here and film this thing. And there are people who just right away were sharing what I was doing. So when I first started streaming, I had no followers. I started streaming, someone finds it and then shares with a friend, and they say, hey, we appreciate you doing this for us. CNN and MSNBC are going the other direction.
Well, people trust people now and not brands.
Right. But I just mean, like, at what point are you Caitlin Collins going like, I can't talk to a box for another night? Like, no one is watching.
Staring at a black lens.
Only views they get are when we make fun of them.
Not like Scott Jennings is the perfect example of
that. I think Brian Stelter is intentionally talking like a moron every day because it's the only way people will look at him.
Did you see what he said about the ABC settlement with Jim Acosta?
Yeah. We got to stand up straight and
like
buy him.
The funny part about that is like, okay, all these people who are claiming like ABC bent the knee, it's like, do you guys realize how legal proceedings go? They did not want to go to discovery, and because I guarantee you what happened, in my estimation, like this is allegedly, that they realized that they made a big oopsie, and they were like, should we backtrack? Should we issue a correction? And they're like, no, it's Donald Trump. Absolutely not. We would never give him an inch of ground. And so they settled for $15 million plus the $1 million in legal fees because they didn't want discovery.
Yeah.
And that's what I relied on when I got a correction from CNN. And then you have to tune into the second book for the corrections from the New York Times. But I basically, they don't want to go to court because they know that they're guilty.
Now, hold on. How much you want to bet that the money that's being paid? So first of all, that money that's being paid to Trump is actually being allocated to a Trump museum. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not only did Trump win and
we're just paying for a huge Trump statue.
Yes. No, it is
Brought to you by
$15 million. So they've got Stephanopoulos and ABC are going to pay $1 million each to Trump for attorney's fees, and $15 million to the creation of a presidential Trump museum.
See, reality stranger than fiction. You can't make it up. What? If you made that up in a pitch for a Hollywood pitch in a board, they'd be like, no way.
But here's the thing. I bet ABC's insurance company just pays for it. They probably have errors and omissions or something.
Yeah, media insurance. I mean, I had to get media insurance.
And the insurance company probably talked to the lawyers and said, what's going to cost if we pursue this?
Exactly.
The lawyers told the insurance company, here are our rates, and here's what happens when we lose. The insurance company was like, just pay them.
Yeah. There are clauses. I just signed a media insurance contract.
Right. And this is what people need to understand about lawsuits. The insurance companies don't want to go to war. Everyone's saying this. Oh, they did. And you were saying this. They don't want to get discovery. That'll be bad for them. And I'm like, I don't think that's it. I think the insurance company just said they did an algorithm. Yes. On average, a total cost of this lawsuit will be $37 million. Pay them $15.
That is in the clause. So literally, like when you sign a media insurance contract, it says they have the right to choose to settle in the event that they make that calculation.
And it's standard cost benefit analysis. If the cost of the lawsuit victory is more than the cost of a settlement, they settle.
Yeah. Teflon Don. They don't call them that for nothing.
It's great.
But understand, this is like, this is why I respect James O'Keefe. He never settles. He's like, nope, we're going to war. You want to go with me? We go to war. 99% of anybody, if like Shane sued Serge, the lawyers are going to be like, it's going to cost you more if you try and fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I explored the possibility of suing New York Times for libel. And basically I talked to 20 different lawyers, including Eugene Carroll's lawyer. And they were like, how much money do you have? And I was like, I don't know. I got a Bitcoin. And they're like, yeah, New York Times, that's going to cost you $500,000.
Yes, but
at least.
So
they'll bleed you dry. They'll go to the Supreme Court because they have more money than you. And so they'll just bleed you dry and then it's over.
Ultimately, though, what we're seeing with Trump in this lawsuit is I don't necessarily think it's about who has more money in this regard. It's like if you did sue the New York Times, you probably could have forced a settlement because they have an insurance company that's going to say, we are not going to pay
but how
out.
much it would have taken me hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to that point that's the point is like, if they knew that I had a finite amount of money, then they would be able to basically just drag things out as long as possible.
You have to be willing to risk 50 grand to get nothing for a chance to force the settlement or something like that.
Well, I hired a lawyer and I did get an extra correction. And so they did effectively admit to their fault by correcting the record. But yeah,
it really
I
just
didn't have
depends,
50 grand.
But it's not just that.
I had $5,000 and that's what I spent.
In this regard, Trump wins because Stephanopoulos said a jury found that Trump was liable for rape, which is not true at all. And he says the judge confirmed. So he doubled the statement saying a judge and a jury said Trump raped this woman. It's not correct at all.
Yeah.
So Trump sues, and their insurance company said, what are we looking at? And they're like, it's 50-50. What he said is defamation per se. That is not true. Okay. And so the insurance company was like, I swear, if it's $15 million and $1 to go to court over it and win, and it's $15 million to settle, they don't care. Insurance company don't got no ego. They're going to be like, we don't care what you think, or we don't care about your credibility. We care about paying you the least amount of money possible. So pay Trump $15 million, and it's done.
Do you think the core ABC audience cares about them being caught in lies constantly? Like I think about the Jussie Smollett interview.
Yeah.
A lot.
It's pronounced Smollett.
Smollett. I have a hard time not saying that actually. Yeah. But like they constantly lie. And like I wonder if their ratings have significantly dropped since then. They've always been low. Like what does it look like these days for ABC in particular?
ABC's doing better than the CNNs and the MSNBCs of the world. Yeah. And they're actually trying to sign
like a Good Morning America or
so the morning shows are what perform the best.
Yeah.
Because nobody watches nightly news anymore.
Yep.
And they have less
except
baggage.
for this show.
Because ABC is also not running a 24-hour news operation at the scale that MSNBC and CNN are.
How about we point this out? People don't watch nightly news anymore, so why are they watching Timcast IRL? That says something about what the nightly news has turned into, not watching news at night. So a show like this is, 4 or 5 people hanging out talking about all these things, just literally conversation. I have a series of stories pulled up in advance. We give each of the stories well enough time for them to flesh out and for the conversation to flow. If at a certain point, or if the conversation dries, I'll say, let's jump to the next story.
Yeah.
And so it is more free flowing without restrictions. There's no commercial breaks. We've done ad reads at the 9:30 mark for super chats and pre-roll, but we let the conversation just sort of flow. That's probably why people will watch this show and not watch.
It's not some canned news package where it's like, well, here I am standing and it's mostly peaceful.
Those are
back to
boring
you,
shows.
Jim.
But you don't get anything from them. If I see a guy say, today a drone was spotted over New Jersey, a nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
The president said this. It's like, okay, but I knew that as soon as it happened on X.
Yeah. It's also like, why do they talk like that?
I know.
What are
why
you
do they
doing?
talk like that?
Well, today, and it's like,
they
I'm
learn
not
that
a
in
person,
here
dude.
outside
Talk to me
of
like a
factory.
person. It's crazy.
It's pretense.
They've become elevator music. It's just a nothing. There's nothing to it. And people have largely rejected the soundbite culture of that news.
But this is why Fox still gets large viewership on their nightly shows, because they're opinion context shows. But I will stress, there's a reason why we do this show as a conversation. And in the morning, I do segments, which are me monologuing.
News. Yeah.
That's not hard news, like my opinion as an individual. But I think what makes this show work is it's the end of the day hangout, going over everything. Most of the time, people already know. Not everybody. But when news breaks early in the day about like a school shooting, you hear about it. Your phone goes off. You're on Twitter. You see it. Someone texts you.
Yeah.
You don't need the nightly news to tell you it happened.
Right.
But then you come hang out and we all talk about it. We get super chats and we sort of go into the ideas and what it means.
And it's also probably like how they all exist in a silo too. You know, they're all talking about the way they see that news, but we are in our world, but then going through the ways they view the world too.
Well, they put Maddow on a pedestal for exactly that reason, because she was more in the direction of, Tucker Carlson. She was in the same time slot of doing more opinion and that kind of stuff. But I was in the newsroom at NBC in 2013. It was my third day at work, and this is like the very opening of the book. And Jeff Zucker came down, and he was later the president of CNN. This was like a month before he left NBC. And he had Rock Center, which was hosted by Brian Williams, which was supposed to be the millennial 60 Minutes. And he kept on saying like, oh yeah, we're going to use what's trending to inform our editorial decisions, yada, yada, yada. It was my third day, and like an electric shock, my hand just went up. And I asked him this challenging question about like, NBC's long been a bastion of, editorial judgment, what people need to hear, not just like cats flying through the air because it's trending on Twitter. And I thought that I got fired. I luckily didn't. I was making $12 an hour. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. but there was a moment in that newsroom where Jeff Zucker said, we're not doing news anymore. He's in the DC newsroom,
Wow.
the center of hard news. Said, we're doing entertainment. And
He said that to you.
He said that to the entire newsroom.
Well, he was the Apprentice guy. He's the entertainment guy.
Exactly. He's the guy who brought on Donald Trump as the Apprentice. 2016, up until that point, 2016 was the highest year of ratings that CNN ever had. And Zucker knew that because he came from NBC Entertainment, and then he took over the whole show. And yeah, he pushed everything in the direction of entertainment over news.
Wow. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.